Blaise Pascal, the very famous French philosopher and scientist, 17th century. He said, all of man's troubles stem from his inability to sit quietly in a room alone. You will not ever get to know God unless you can get to the field of all possibilities. As St. Mark put it, with God all things are possible. Now that leaves nothing out. And the way that you do that is you go through the layers of your mind, from the surface, where the chatter is, to just below the surface, where the analyzing is, the intellectual violence, where you have to pick and tear everything apart, figure it all out. Lower to synthesis, where you see how all things are brought and held together. Lower to where you quiet the mind. And ultimately, coming to rest in the field of all possibilities, the limitless field. And here, in this place of rest, where you empty the mind of all thoughts, between your thoughts, through the process of meditation or getting quiet or chanting or prayer or whatever you want to call that activity of sitting quietly alone, twice a day at least, for 30 minutes, you will come to know God. You will find in that field of all possibilities that nothing at all is impossible. Nothing. This is the place where Jesus performed his miracles. This is the place where a Sai Baba can manifest the gift of fish and loaves. And once the people say to him, how can you do that? How can you just manifest? I don't know. He said, how can you not? He is just there. Just like looking at a pond and seeing that the essence of a pond is not the surface, where all the disturbances are, but below, where you get below the disturbances. In the mind, the surface is the chatter, the endless repetition of thoughts. And you know what that is? Just an endless repetition of the inventory of beliefs that have been handed to you by other people, and all of your opinions about them. When you get past those, you get to that peaceful place, that knowing. And after you get good at getting quiet and craving it, you will begin to see that not only is it meditation as a peaceful, beautiful, powerful experience, but what you bring back from the meditation is even more significant. And what you bring back is a solution of finding the key where you dropped it. What you bring back from that experience is a sense of peace and bliss and love and tolerance and kindness. All of the characteristics of your higher self, of your sacred self. As you tame your ego, you no longer have the possibility of being offended. You have made the decision to be free. And being able to work on those, one moment, one present moment at a time, will bring you to an understanding of what Robert Frost said in his poetry. He said, we all sit around in a ring and suppose, while the secret sits in the center and knows. And the secret that sits in the center and knows is really invisible, surrounded by form. In Zen they say it's the space between the bars that holds the tiger. It's the silence between the notes that makes the music. It's not the note, it's the silence between. What allows a vase to be a vase is not the form, it's not the material, it's the space inside. If you hit and break it, the vase, all the material is still there, no vase. You have to have the space surrounded by form. That's who you are, space. Inner, divine, empty, quiet, formless, eternal space, surrounded by a garage where you park your soul. In Sailing to Byzantium, William Butler Yeats put it this way. He said, an aged man is but a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick, unless soul clap its hands and sing, and louder sing, for every tatter in its mortal dress. Without that soul, without that divine, silent, empty, invisible, formless, eternal space within us, we're just tattered coats on a stick. Go within. Banish the doubt. Witness it. Get rid of all the labels. And know that you are here for one purpose and one purpose only: to find and serve God. And when you do, you will understand what the Quakers would say at every single Sunday morning service. They said, the service begins when the meeting is over. This meeting is over. Good night. God bless you.
There is no there. It's all just being. So there is no being here, because here implies the existence of there. As Anita writes, quote, when we pursue externally, we seem to see the world as being competitive and limited, and we use external measures to judge our achievements. To me, herein lies the illusion. There is no limited supply of beingness. We seem to measure our beingness by the achievement of goals. I don't, and neither do most people who are happy. My point is to shift your views. See the magnificence in your being, whether you are rich or poor, physically impaired or not, with the one you love or not, and so on. I am now just focused on being, and am now the creator of my life. That is, the artist of my life. Anita concludes, quote, the only thing you need to learn is that you already are what you are seeking to attain. I am inviting you to live this way, first in your imagination, be it. Then live your life in the way St. Paul suggests, treating those things which do not exist as though they did, and surely they will become your reality. Your reconstructed I ams. Run through as large an inventory as you can of the things that you would like to define your life. Then make the shift in your imagination from an I am not or I am hoping to become to I am. You want what follows I am to be congruent with your highest self, which is God. Beginning with your inner dialogue, simply change the words that define your concept of yourself. Don't discuss what you're doing, because involving others in your I ams invites their ego to assert its self-importance. Redefine your self-concept by choosing the words that you opt to place into your imagination. Try this rewording of your inner world as a beginning step to accessing the assistance of your higher self and fulfilling your desires. In the book of Joel in the scriptures, the Lord's advice is in harmony with what I'm saying here in this chapter. Quote, let the weak say, I am strong. Joel 3:10. It is truly as simple as these 7 words from the Bible advise. If you say, I am weak, you defile the name of God that is your highest self. How is it possible for the creative source of the universe, the source energy responsible for creating worlds, to say, I am weak? As I've quoted previously, Jesus said, is it not written in your law, I said, you are God's? So how can you, as you now operate in your life from your highest self, ever even think such a thought as I am weak, let alone define yourself in such a blasphemous manner? By thinking I am strong, you place in your imagination the tools you need to achieve your pronouncements, and you align with the source of all, with strength instead of weakness. Align yourself so as to synchronistically invite the guidance that is unavailable when you declare, I am weak. Instead of I am incapable of getting a job, shift to I am capable. Similarly, replace proclamations of I am not able to live in peace with I am peace. I am unlucky in love is replaced by I am love. I am unworthy of happiness becomes I am happiness. The words I am, which you consistently use to define who you are and what you are capable of, are holy expressions for the name of God, the highest aspect of yourself. Break lifelong habits of unwittingly besmirching this holy name. Discontinue using pejorative labels to cast aspersions on your holy self. One of the many great lessons of the I Am discourses, is to always make your very first consideration to your divine self. In fact, adoration to it will allow you to rise to previously unimagined heights. You must make your outer self accept the unlimited power of your inner presence. Expanding your inner presence. It is impossible for me to overstate the significance of using these two words, I am. They have transformative energy to guide and direct the highest power in the universe, revealing you as a God-realized being. It matters not how long you've been stuck in a pattern that's kept you from fulfilling your highest ideal of yourself. By shifting so that you restate who you are in your imagination and choosing to live from this perspective, you will, as Neville suggests, achieve that transformation. This is true whether you've been a drug addict, a chronic stutterer, enmeshed in poverty, riddled with illness, chronically lazy, unlucky in love, intellectually inferior, or whatever you've wished you weren't. Here are a few examples. With addictions, affirm, I am sober, I am perfectly healthy. With stuttering, affirm, I am in perfect command of my speech. With poverty, affirm, I am prosperous. With illness, affirm, I am well, I am perfect health. With laziness, affirm, I am in possession of unlimited energy. With love, affirm, I am love, and I am in a loving relationship. Intellectually weak, affirm, I am a genius. You might be thinking that this is all just self-delusion, and just saying I am doesn't make it so. It's probably natural to feel skeptical if you believe that what your senses tell you is your only reality. The scriptures offer some words that may help you overcome your cynical viewpoint. The opening words in the book of John in the New Testament are, quote, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John 1:1. 13 verses later, there's this phrase, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. John 1:14. What do you suppose the phrase, and the Word was God, means? You are more than your sensory awareness. You are also your own spiritual divinity, which is impervious to those five senses. God proclaims in the same scriptures, as I noted in the previous chapter, my name is I am. Those two words are now in your imagination in such a way that they align perfectly with God. This is your beginning. Steadfastly retain and repeat I am, and then you will discover the reality of, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Yes, the words I am. Calling upon this name and placing it in your imagination and living from this place literally joins you with the source of power that allows you to become all that you've affirmed, as well as to create miracles. Begin by being willing to use these divine words as the name of your highest self, God. That is the inauguration of the you that will live a wishes-fulfilled life, as long as those wishes are in alignment with the source of being, which is love. Love for yourself and your magnificence. Love for all of God's creations.
Here's a great study that was just done recently. You know what serotonin is? It's the substance in the brain that when you have more of it, you are feeling more peaceful. It's what Prozac is designed to have the brain stimulate, to create more of. So it is an antidepressant. It makes people feel better. It's serotonin. It's very hard to measure, but there are indicators in the blood that can indicate whether serotonin is present in higher or lower amounts. It's what you take Paxil for. It's what you take Wellbutrin for. It's what you take Buspar. All of these various names that we have for antidepressants are nothing more than just things that stimulate the brain to produce more serotonin. Here's a study. The recipient of an act of kindness, any act of kindness, you look nice today. May I help you with this? Here's $10. Go out and get yourself something for lunch. Let me pay off your loan. Is there anything I can do? Can I carry this for you? An act of kindness. Would you like to take my seat? It's okay. I don't mind standing. Whatever it is. When a person is the recipient of an act of kindness, serotonin levels are increased in the brain and the immune system is strengthened. Imagine. Now, the person extending the act of kindness towards another person has their immune system strengthened and has their serotonin levels increased. It's an amazing thing. There it is. There's the answer. All we have to do is be kinder. We have to be recipients of kindness and extenders of kindness, and we raise the serotonin level. We could just put the drug companies out of business. And we increase the immune system. But even more significant than what I've just described is this part of the study, that anyone who is an observer of an act of kindness also has their serotonin levels increased and their immune system strengthened. All you have to do is observe it. One of the studies that Deepak and I did together was when we talked about it on our tapes, Creating Your World the Way You Really Want It to Be, is they had a group of people meditating, and then they had people on the other side of the room not meditating. And when these people over here meditated, their serotonin levels increased because meditation does that. But the people who were in the room, just in the same energy field as those people who were making conscious contact with God, their serotonin levels and their immune system was strengthened. And then they did it where they had thousands of people doing it, and people in the community, just in the immediate surrounding community, had their immune system strengthened and serotonin levels increased because there were 7,000 people meditating here. There's an answer for world peace in there. There's a solution for how we deal with the problems that we face as a people. This is a round planet, folks. There's no choosing up sides. We are all sharing the same force. The universal force from which all things emanate is creative, it is kind, it is loving, it is love. I am love. And he that dwelleth in me dwelleth in love, and I in him. Love and God is the same. Be still and know. Be still and know that I am God. It's a stillness and it is love. God is love. He that dwelleth in love dwelleth in me. So the universal field couldn't be something that has hatred in it. It wouldn't hate what it would create, would it? It wouldn't create something that wasn't a part of what it is. It is loving. It is beauty. The universal field from which you emanated is beautiful and only brings beauty into this universe.
I have been accused over the years in the critical press of providing false hope to people. People will call, and I'll be on a talk show on the radio someplace in the world, and someone will call in who's been diagnosed with a terminal illness of some kind, and I will talk to them about not buying into the diagnosis. About why would you just listen to a group of people who have a vested interest in convincing you of this impending doom in your life, and the law that has ever allowed any miracle to ever take place in the history of humanity is still on the books. It hasn't been repealed, so that energy, whatever it is, whoever has ever healed themselves of a diagnosis of terminal illness, used the same kind of energy that is in you. And so people say, well, that's providing false hope and so on. And I remember, again, to speak about Michelangelo, I mean, these people that I selected for, or that selected me for Wisdom of the Ages, I feel after studying their lives in depth and looking at not only what they had to say, but what they were like, I mean, I feel like you're talking about my grandfather or something when you speak about Michelangelo. And again, in Florence, when we went to Florence, I said, I'm just going to go see the statue of David. And I thought, well, I'll just look at this statue. Everybody has to see David.
Yes.
And I walked in there, and you go through this long corridor, and you see all of these slaves on either side that are coming out of the concrete that were all sculpted by Michelangelo. And then you come into this room that's all lit, and then there's this statue, this magnificent statue, and it's 18 feet high. And it is the most astounding thing I've ever seen. And I'm not a big art critic or even going to art shows and sculpture and all that. I enjoy it, but it's not something that I have a passion about.
Yes.
Well, 4 hours later, Michael, I was still standing in front of that statue. My wife and my 3 daughters were out climbing El Duomo and buying shoes and doing all the things that you do when you're in Italy.
Right.
And they came back and they said, Dad, come on, we have to leave. And I felt like I couldn't leave that place. It was such a beautiful experience. I mean, you can see every vein in in this thing, and it's it's just a magnificent experience. So when they ask, there's this wonderful quote that they ask Michelangelo, how could you have created such a perfect specimen of sculpture from one piece of marble? His famous quote is that David was already in the marble. I just chipped away the excess.
Yes.
And that there's a David inside each and every one of us.
Yes.
And this idea of if you're, the greater danger is not that our hopes are too high and we fail to reach them, it's that they are too low and we do. And most people see themselves in terms, they don't see, I think you should see yourself as a saint. And I think a person ought to be envisioning themselves as capable of doing anything. I think it's possible to excel in every area of life. That is, you don't have to sort of restrict yourself to one area. I think you can enjoy going to a National Football League game in the afternoon and going to the ballet in the evening.
Yes.
When people say, well, you're a speaker, usually speakers, and you get paid a lot for speaking, so usually speakers are not good writers, or because one is introverted and supposedly and one is extroverted. And I have often thought, why can't you be a really fine writer and a great speaker as well?
Sure.
And why can't you be a great athlete and a poet as well? Why not? And most of these people like Goethe and Michelangelo and Da Vinci and Shakespeare and Pope and so many of these people, these were people who were masters at 1,000 different things. Isn't that interesting? How we, like in medicine now, I mean, now you have a specialist who specializes in the right finger,
Right, exactly.
Yes. We have hand specialists, we have foot specialists and nose specialists, and imagine going to school for years and studying only the hand.
Yes.
Whereas here was Da Vinci or Michelangelo, and they studied, they were anatomists. I mean, they studied anatomy, and were medical people. They studied the way that Michelangelo learned about, how to do sculpture was by examining cadavers. They would literally steal the cadavers and go through, and he would examine them. And it's like when you discover the greatness that's in yourself, and not restricting yourself in any way. And not enough of us can think of ourselves as being able to excel in all areas and to have high hopes about virtually everything. Because high hopes is not just a song that Frank Sinatra sang with a bunch of kids. High hopes is being able to visualize and see for yourself what it is that you'd like to be able to accomplish in your life.